Carol must not be coming. So what we're going to do today is, I hope that I can set this computer up so we can see some of the program that Tech has got on it, and I want to talk about it because we're going to talk about different types of spray equipment, and if I can get this set up so we can have some verbal exchange too, I think it would be beneficial. Tom, I'm going to switch it right quick and see if you can see my computer screen. If I can, we'll be okay. It's going to be a little different than trying to run the videos, I hope.
Okay.
But we'll see what we can do. Can you hear me now and see that?
Hear you, yes. See you, no.
No.
Yeah. Well, okay, we see the screen.
Can you hear me now and see that, Tom? No.
Yes. Yes.
You lost the audio, didn't we?
Nope, nope, have it all. We see you and hear you.
Now?
Yes.
Absolutely.
We just lost your computer screen.
All right. Now what does that do?
Looks like you're frozen.
The video.
I can't hear you, though. That's what I was wanting to do.
Okay, there's the screen. We see your computer screen. We just lost your computer screen.
Lost the computer screen when I turned it off.
Yep.
All right, you can hear me, but I cannot hear you.
Okay.
But that'll work. It's not ideal, but we'll switch it back and forth like that.
Okay.
But I'm gonna switch it back so you can see the computer screen, and then I'll talk a little bit, and then we'll switch it back. So.
Okay, and I can like make a sign. We'll make some waving at the camera if we need to talk to you.
Okay, I don't know that it'll transmit, but we'll see. Okay.
Okay.
I know a way I can. Hang on a minute. Let me turn this other monitor on in the back of the room. That way I can see it.
All right.
I can navigate myself through these tight. That's what I was able to do last time. This program from Tech has got a section in it that has a lot of information about different types of sprayers, and that's what I want to try to go over. So I'm going to start it now. Okay, as we begin to look at this, it's called a sprayer tutorial, and it talks about different types of handheld sprayers. Most of these things that you guys are probably have some experience with, just the little compressed air sprayers, and there are some that we use that are of a different type. One of them that is listed here is actually a soil injector, and it's used to put liquid materials around the bases of trees. And I'm going to see if we can see that. All right, that's kind of a unique application device, and it's used for injecting a liquid, either fungicide or insecticide, or into the soil to make it available to a growing plant. A lot of those are used in urban areas when people recognize the fact that they've got quite often an insect that's in the upper portion of a tree. They're using that soil injector with a systemic type of insecticide, which will be that systemic insecticide is picked up by the root systems, and it's translocated up in the upper portions of the tree.
You can inject stuff into the ground to kill nematodes.
Nematodes, this would be a very isolated area. And if you had nematodes around a landscape tree, it would be possible to do, but you can't do any large land mass with that because it just doesn't cover enough area. But that's just a typical handheld type of device. This is a typical backpack type sprayer that we've all seen. That's about a 2.5 or 3 gallon unit. Quite often some of them are called solo sprayers, but that's used for spot treatment of different things. Here they're using it around a mini par golf course, and they're spraying weeds for that. You pumping it with your left hand, and your right hand they've got the nozzle or the spray handle that they're using to disperse the material. Now I got to figure out how to get out of that part. Okay. Tom, were you able to hear what I was doing? Were you able to see all that?
Yes.
Okay, good deal. All right, we're going to change, step up a little bit, and we're going to talk about some small motorized sprayers, and we'll look at that a little bit, and I'll switch it again. There are a lot of little small motorized sprayers that are on the market now, and they are for fairly specialized usage. The one that is listed here, they call it an estate sprayer. It's a little, that's probably a 100-gallon tank, and it's got a 5 or 8 horsepower, something like a Briggs and Stratton engine on it with a pump, and then a boom system on the back that's got 1, 2, 3, probably 7 nozzles. And this would used to be to spray weeds and so forth in a small pasture or possibly even a lawn. But a lot of these type units now are available, and they're used by some homeowners. A lot of landscape folks are using units of this type. Very useful, very effective, and not terribly expensive. Unit of this type, somewhere between $800 and $1,500, depending upon the specifications in the thing. So, good little unit. This one is a similar unit that's mounted on the back of a four-wheeler, and you can see the boom system that's there. More than likely, the pump on this one is powered by the battery that's on this four-wheeler. It's probably a 12-volt pump. Nice little units. I've used a unit very similar to this to do all my herbicide work in the vineyard this summer. Instead of using a boom, I had it modified to use a handgun, and we were using it on the back of a tractor. But still, the pump that we used was a 12-volt pump. We just used alligator clips to the battery on the tractor that we use. Now, this is a trailer that the Reddick company was using for a sales display, and it's just got 3 different type of spray units. This one that is on the ground here is one that goes on a 3-point hitch on a tractor, and the pump system on this one, more than likely, I can't tell what it is for sure, but I think it would be a gear type pump that goes on a power takeoff unit on your farm tractor. The one on the back of the trailer that's here is a similar unit, but it has a boom set up on it just like the other one does. I don't know, there's got to be some differences in it. And the one that's on the front of this trailer is going to be quite a bit larger. Again, it fits on a commercial tractor, and it's got a boom system that sort of bat wings out. It'll fold down, one on each side, and this one will probably spray 20 to 24 feet as we move across. So, but but these are examples of what they call small motorized units. A lot of these used anymore for different things. Any questions about those small motorized sprayers? Got an idea of what we're doing with those? No questions. All right, good deal. Sign language is working. All right, this one we begin to talk about larger power-driven sprayers, and they're not a whole lot different than some of those that we've just talked about. This one is another type of a boom sprayer, and it is a little bit different in that it has an indicator system set up. And what I'm talking about with that, you see this little canister here that's on the spray, and a tube that goes around out to this device on the end. And I don't know whether you can see it or not, but it's dropping a white foam, and it'll disperse that every 6 or 8 feet. And what that's doing is, if you've ever tried to spray a large field, it's hard to exactly determine what you've sprayed and what you haven't sprayed with a boom of this type. So this operator will drive all the way out to the end of the row here, and then he'll make a U-turn and come back, and he'll notice this foam, and he'll know that was the point to which he sprayed. So as he comes back in the other direction, this side, the opposite side, will drop the foam, so he can know when to return and in what area he's covered and what he hasn't covered. So just simple devices that facilitate the application of that stuff. I'm sure all of you have seen this type of spray device used. It's one that's mounted on the front of quite often a state highway truck, and they're using this to spray on the guardrails and the right-of-ways on the highway. These are generally larger power-driven sprays, but they operate under low pressure. This one that we're looking at here probably has a maximum of maybe 50 pounds per square inch, or 50 psi, because you don't want high pressure on this type of application. The low pressure is used to just disperse the material. If you get higher pressures, you get more drift and potential volatility because of the smaller particles that are emitted with the high pressure. So any questions about that one? Jonathan, have you used any of these types of sprayers or seen them done?
Yeah, a couple of them.
Okay. I think I can hear you when I switch it back. So.
Oh, okay. You hear me now? Okay.
I'm going to go to the larger high pressure units. This is an example of a high pressure rig that's being used by someone that's trying to reach farther back into a wooded area to control either an insect or weeds. But this is.
So many issues wrong with this image.
What can you see wrong with this image, Tyler?
Well, first, the dude's not wearing any visible gloves. He doesn't have any face protection on, and then
He may not be required to by the label.
it generally isn't a good idea to at least take precautions.
It depends on the material that you use. He might be spraying salt water.
I'm saying it shouldn't be that close to the face. But.
Okay. I'm just, the label tells you what you got to do. And in this situation, this is a high pressure rig. It's mounted on a truck here, and more than likely it's got an engine behind that guy that is generating the pressure that it takes to throw that material that far. He's probably operating somewhere between 200 and 250 pounds of pressure at the end of that hose. So, but you're right. Were he to be using a material that created a problem, he does have on gloves, but that's about all you can see. This is a trailer type high pressure rig. The liquid is dispensed from the tank into this hose and sprayed out through this handgun. A lot of these type machines have been used, and it depends upon the particular problem that they've got as to whether they're being used today. I've got, I don't know, 4 or 5 different units at home that are similar to this. I haven't used them in quite a while. I'm sure that the rust is probably about to eat them up, but that's just one of the things you have to happen.
Rigged it up, we've got a switch on it, so we've got one that we need to do on.
This one, Tyler will be a little more proud. This guy's got on his coveralls and his boots and his gloves and his sunglasses, and he's going to have on his respirator. But there again, that's a unit that it's a high pressure unit, and it's powered by an engine here through probably a 100 to 150 foot hose that's coming out of there. This is an outfit that, if I can read the sign on the door correctly, it's a total lawn care operation. It's in Blacksburg. So, but these are what we call high pressure units. Any questions about high pressure units? We're going to move on a little bit farther. Okay, we're getting into now what we call the air blast sprayers. And generally, an air blast sprayer is a combination of air and liquid to deliver the pesticide to the treated surface. These are the type sprayers that I've grown up using over the last 50 or 60 years. We've worn out several of them at home in the orchard, and I still have 4 or 5 of them. Got 3 or 4 dead soldiers down in the woods that we've no longer used. But these are very commonly used in the production of tree fruits. A lot of them are used now in production of vegetables. They have specific uses, and they are wonderful pieces of equipment, although they can give you the idea that they're going to create a real environmental hazard. What was that, Tyler?
That's a real environmental hazard.
Yeah, you'll think so. I'm going to see if I can. This, if I remember correctly, this is a really short video, but it will give you an idea of what's involved. Now, this unit that's here, that's in this picture.
Giant fan.
What?
It's a giant fan.
Yes, sir. It's a giant fan. That's about probably a 30-inch fan, and it's used to use this to spray an apple orchard. And I've got a unit that's several times larger than this one, but it works. You said okay. Yes. You know, I wish they were showing a bigger machine for that, but I think this was one of the ones that they have at Tech, and they're using this machine that they've got. So this is probably about a 300-gallon unit that's set up to spray the apple trees that are on the test farm in Blacksburg. This is a similar type unit. It's a 3-point hitch type of piece of equipment. It's probably got a 150 or 200 gallon tank that's here, this red component. And this is probably about a 24-inch fan that puts the air in a flume type situation. In other words, it circulates it around and directs it to one side here, where that other spray had the fan going off in both directions. This is primarily a unit that would be used to spray tomatoes, cucumbers, squash, some lower growing crops. This one would work for grapes also. Wouldn't be ideal, but it would work for grapes. And this one, it's another type of mist blower. It's a little hard to see it here, but this one's got a totally different type of fan. The other one was a circular fan.
This looks to be more directed.
Well, it is directed, but the fan is right here at the cursor, at that point where that arrow is. It's a squirrel cage fan, high velocity squirrel cage fan, which directs the air up through this area into these flumes here that direct the mist and the air out to the side. They're using this one to sanitize these greenhouse operations.
Did you say high velocity squirrel cage?
Squirrel cage.
High velocity squirrel cage.
Mm-hmm.
Did not expect to hear that today, but okay.
Well, it's a different type of fan, Tyler. Instead of it being a circular fan, it again is circular, but it runs within a contained area. And most of the fans that are in your heat pump and air dispersal units in your home are a squirrel cage fan. Instead of a big bladed fan, it's a smaller fan that operates in another direction. They move a lot of air and they're a lot quieter than the others. Okay.
Each fan?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe that's the main things that are on this one. Tyler had a question about the fan that we had that was on the two air blast sprayers. The top two machines, the first two we showed you, had a big circular bladed fan, and that last one had what we would call a squirrel cage fan, different type of fan. So that was some of the differences in those.
Let me know if you see something that needs to be cared for.
What was that, Tom? I heard you.
Oh, no, I was just saying something to Jonathan.
Okay. All right. This one, we're going to talk about some low volume sprayers, and if I remember correctly, they don't show us much on the low volume. It says they can be handheld or mounted or either ground applicated. And the area over on the side of this lists a bunch of the different manufacturers for these, and I've played with this over the years and never gotten any information out of that particular component. So we'll go. That may be a lot of what we've got here. He talks a little bit about controlled droplet applicators. That's generally a different type of applicator, and I don't know that many of those are used in areas where we would be familiar with it. So, talks about electrostatic sprayers. They're sprayers that give the pesticide a positive electric charge as it leaves the nozzles, and the plants are normally have a negative charge. So it's a mechanism by which the electric charges are create a positively charged situation that attract the chemical to the plant. I don't have any experience with those.
That's starting to get into some pretty high-tech territory.
Well, it is in a way, and it's not really advantageous for the type growers and the agriculture that we have to use that. In situations where you use very little pesticide per acre, they may be an advantage, and they also minimize the likelihood of drift. But it's not a widely used type of. And it talks about also the different types of manufacturers of spray machines, and there's an enormous number of manufacturers, and a lot of them will, depending upon the type of machine we're looking at, you've got differences in pump designs, and quite often there's a major difference in the type of pump that a spray used, depending upon the type of material that's being delivered and where they're doing it. There's a couple of little videos here that I think I can show. That one of them is use of a helicopter to apply materials. It's got a wide boom that applies the material. And usually it's a fairly low volume if you're using a helicopter application. You rarely see much of that done. At one time, the power companies were paying for a lot of herbicide applications over the right-of-ways for their power lines. It's hard to see the material being delivered here, but I'm sure that's what they're doing. But they're putting down a very small amount of water for that helicopter to be able. Helicopter can't carry a large volume of water, so. But I have seen those used in particularly in a lot of the areas around where we are. It's pretty mountainous, and they don't want to have crews out cutting power lines, so they'll use the helicopters to spray different herbicides on it. Have to be careful when they're doing it because of the wind and the drift, but that's one of the things that is done and used. It's not something I'd want to do for a living, I'll tell you that.
I've been in a helicopter one time. It was the most terrifying experience I've ever had.
I'm not interested in helicopters.
We're gonna fly a helicopter over volcano when we go to Hawaii.
All right, this
3 years.
A short video talking about the application of a insecticide or possibly a fungicide, and it's going to be a soil injection, and they inject it in the soil, and then it's covered with this plastic because the material is going to be volatile. It goes into a gaseous situation once it reaches the soil, and they want to retain that material in the soil for an extended period of time. We'll see how this works. The liquid that's being dispensed is in the front of the on the front lift of that in that green tank, and then he's got something else in these two barrels on the back that he's combining together to put in this soil injector.
No, it's plastic. It's to keep the chemicals from coming up or evaporating or that kind of thing.
Whatever crop they're getting ready to put in this field has got to be a fairly high-priced crop to justify that.
Yeah, I'm about to say, that looks less like farming and more just saran wrapping a field with a technological nightmare.
Well, no, it is truly farming, Tyler, because I would imagine that this is probably going to be either production of strawberries, or a high-valued crop.
Where could justify all that?
Strawberry production will justify it.
Really?
Yeah, it's all right. One of the things that we've witnessed as we've talked about all these sprayers are the use of nozzles.
Computer clicking.
There are all sorts of nozzling devices that have come about over the last 40 or 50 years. And the nozzle is nothing more than the implement that administers the liquid. In other words, and you can vary nozzles, whether you're talking about a solid cone or a hollow cone. Some of them are flat fans. Some of them are flood nozzles. There are all sorts of nozzle distributions and things. See if I can get this. Okay. This is an example of different types of nozzles. The one on the left would create just a stream. The situation with the high pressure unit that Tyler was talking about, the guy didn't have any PPE on. He was using a stream type nozzle. It's just an opening and has high pressure on it, and it's directing it 40 or 50 feet away from it. These cone nozzles that are here, one of them will be a solid cone. In other words, there's mist coming out over an entire area, very much like the shape of a funnel. The hollow cone, it'll just be around the perimeter of the funnel. The center of it's going to be hollow. And then this next series are going to be different types of fan nozzles. In other words, you can vary the size of the orifice and the degree of the fan. In other words, you can change your gallons per acre. And we're going to talk about that as we move through this questions section a little bit more. I'm going to come up with some scenarios for you guys to figure out. But these different types of fan nozzles are let's see if it tells us anything. I don't think it's going to. Maybe there. It doesn't tell us anything there. So,
Click the nozzle.
you
have to pick a nozzle tip.
pick a nozzle tip. This was your hollow cone.
These ones are pictures.
Tyler, you're smart figuring all this stuff out. But the way these are put together, this is a screen that prevents it getting clogged up, and this is the actual nozzle, and then this is the cap that goes on.
A little bit like the pure.
See, that's the full cone.
That seems like the most efficient for covering a wide area.
It varies. But this is what they call a flood jet. That one's pretty effective.
It looks just like a cone, but spread out
Mm-hmm.
and not quite a flat.
This one is really common. A lot of these are used. That's just a uniform flat fan.
Mm-hmm.
drywall on it.
Yeah, it may have doubled that one. This was an offset.
I'm guessing it only sprays half of a fan on one
We're
side.
gonna find out. But why would you use one like that?
I cannot see any reason why you would use that one over the others.
What if it was on the end of your spray boom? Be the end.
A wider, more even area.
Well, you can do that and have a defined area. In other words, it didn't go past this area here. If you're spraying.
That's all.
Yep, that's all of them.
Yes.
See what happens when you've got one that's clogged up.
I guess I could do this.
Okay.
Fucking wire is not focused.
This is Tinker toys that I hadn't seen on this thing. Well, they won't let me in that one, so. All right. That gets the down and dirty on a lot of this, the different types of equipment that we're going to be talking about. And when I get a little bit of time this weekend, I'm going to see if I can't draft up some scenarios for you as we begin to talk about the calibration of some of this stuff, because that's getting into the real objectives that we need to reach. It's fine for you to understand materials. It's fine for you to understand the what's required for the label and the PPE, but if you don't have a knowledge of how to apply materials, the rates and the application techniques, we've missed our target. So that's one of the things that we want to look at going into next week as we get along with this. So, any questions, Jonathan? You got any questions? Okay, bored you to death. Tom gives me the big no and bored us to death. Yes, that's good.
But can you hear us?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wasn't sure. The one question I had was just the soil injectors that you talked about at the beginning. Just like for to go up the tree. About how long does that take? It just 2-3 days for it to go through the tree, or 2-3 weeks, or I mean.
It depends totally upon the material that you're using and the stage of growth. You know, this time of year, I wouldn't think it would be the most advantageous time.
Trees are dying.
Do what?
The trees are going into hibernation.
They're going into dormancy. So I think if you want to do it, you'd want to try to do it in the spring when your growth is moving towards the top of the tree. That's one of the things that we get into now with people trying to kill Johnson grass. A lot of people are wanting to shoot Johnson grass early in the year when it's still growing upward with Roundup, and Roundup needs to be absorbed and translocated down to kill the roots. So, back to your question, Tom. I think that injector, if used at the proper time of year, it'd probably take a week or 10 days. Anyway, it depends on what it was.
Okay.
But it's and it depends on the material. Some materials will work that way, and some won't. So,
I have a question pertaining to stuff like, you know how they say if your clothes get thoroughly drenched in things, you need to dispose of them if they get drenched with pesticides and heavily contaminated?
Yeah, it depends.
How would you dispose of them? Just throw them away, or is there a special procedure you need to do for that?
Depends on what it is. You know, if they were contaminated to the point that you were going to dispose of them, I would probably,
Burn it?
well, you can burn it, I would think. It depends on the material, on what it is. You'd want to definitely stay out of the fumes of it if you burned it. But that would probably be a better mechanism. At one time, they recommended the burning of all pesticide containers, the shipping containers, stuff that came in. But they've changed that recommendation now, and they don't want you to burn it because a lot of them are containing a fair amount of plastics, and they don't want you burning the plastic components, getting it in the air. But if it was just a cotton coverall, you know, that you had thoroughly contaminated, I wouldn't be afraid to burn it.
And
Okay.
how do you dispose of pesticide containers? Do you just chuck them in the trash, or?
It's outlined on the label on most of those, Tyler, but if it's a bag, you can get all the material out of it, dust out of it, and put it in something that takes it to a sanitary landfill. If it's a plastic jug, they are supposed to be punctured and triple rinsed. And the rinsate used in a tank mix of something, and then they can be sent to a sanitary landfill. At one time, it was legal to burn them, but it's not anymore.
Hey, I was just saying, because I remember earlier in the semester, it had said to puncture them and throw them in a pit.
Their use of the word pit, I think they were meaning a sanitary landfill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it didn't seem very sanitary or safe to just, have a hole in the ground that has a whole lot of this stuff in it.
No, and that's one of the biggest complaints that your pesticide regulators find when they come to a mixing and loading site is there's always a collection of empty pesticide containers. And I'm sort of like the pot calling the kettle black. I've probably got 40 or 50 laying at the upper side of my water tank right now. But they've all been rinsed. They haven't been punctured. And stuff that's had nothing more than a surfactant in it. Quite often I'll rinse those out and I'll reuse those containers. I'll cut the side out of them and use them when I'm changing oil on something. It's a good, wonderful catch for used motor oil. Any other questions, Southside? Anybody?
No, sir.
No, we're having.
Okay. Well, I'm about done. That was what I wanted to cover today. We'll give you a pass and let you go. Let you go get ready for Tom's test after a while. Rachel's smiling about. Thank y'all. See you later.
Yep, bye.